Good evening, everyone. We will call the meeting to order. Present, we have Michael Fitzgerald on my left, serving as clerk. To my right, Bob Reed, and John Cronin, and myself, George Barrett, chairman. Michael Baptiste is not with us this evening. I am going to take things a little out of order. I think you'll probably, most of you will be relieved by that. I will take Larry Winnicott, representing Bay Point Country Club.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. We found out midday today that Mr. Baptiste would not be here tonight, and we're asking for a continuance to your next meeting because without a full, without a full board, we'd be in the position of having to get a unanimous decision because we need 4 votes. 2 of the petitions that are before you, 2 out of the 3. So I would ask that the matter be continued to your very next meeting. I don't imagine, Mr. Chairman, the board is meeting the week of the 25th, even though I know that day is a holiday.
Correct.
That's correct.
I don't know if the board. My mic is on, I don't know.
Button, press the button.
The green light's on. Sure.
It's on, yeah.
It's on.
Bob mentioned it. The 25th is a holiday. I don't know if the board would like to get another meeting in between then and June 15th.
Is it the 8th or the 15th? The
Should be the 8th.
The 8th.
Circle the 15th. Yeah, it should be on the 8th. Any thoughts? The 8th good for everyone?
I don't have a problem with the meeting on the 25th if we can do that legally.
Well, the building's locked up, so.
Town hall's closed.
Okay. The next Monday after that?
Next Monday after that would be, did I flip the wrong page or something?
Yeah,
Oh, I did. I must have,
you're in July.
yeah. Yeah, if you want to stick to Mondays, you have either next week, the 18th, or June 1st to pick from.
Next week's fine for me.
Yeah.
That work for everyone?
Yeah.
That work for you?
That's fine.
May 18th, the next Monday.
So June 1st, then. Did I hear that right? Are you going, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself, sorry, the 18th.
Mr. Chairman, I just, that date is fine. It's good for us.
Mhm.
If Mr. Baptiste is out for any illness, would that potentially create an issue? I don't want to make it difficult for anybody,
I know what you're saying, I had that thought myself.
I mean,
But
especially for the
I'm
people
not-
here. I just...
I am not sure what, I was told he was ill, but I don't know the nature of that, so.
yeah.
Alan?
If it's okay with you, George, maybe what you could do is get a hold of Matt Underhill and try and get something up on the front of the town's website page with an alert if you're not gonna be able to make it, so they know, everybody here knows, so they don't have to come in each time. Because I know it's stress for a lot of people to get here. Also for Bay Point to come out of Rhode Island, I believe it's something like $10,000 a shot for them. So that's one way to do it, so at least you can keep people apprised of what's going on.
You want to try the 25th, I mean the day after, the Tuesday?
Selectmen use this room, you have to go to a different location, that's all.
Okay.
Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursday, this room is used.
Okay.
There is a way to handle that by virtue of not only on the website, but also post on the door and so forth, that the meeting will be held in another location, much like if there were 100 people that showed up at this meeting, you'd have to do that anyway.
Mhm.
I do appreciate you considering another date, and I don't want to make it difficult. The sooner the better for us, and whatever is comfortable. If the board feels June 1 is better and can make it, that's fine.
Mhm.
Whatever is comfortable for the board.
No guarantee either one.
I just don't know if, like, the cafeteria, if that's available on a Tuesday evening.
Usually is.
Is it?
Yeah.
We could do that, take the 26th and go back to the cafeteria, the basement of the town hall where we used to meet.
You could do the 18th, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Mhm.
You can post for 2 dates. You can always cancel.
Does that work for everyone, 26th?
The day's fine.
26th.
Mhm.
Okay.
For those of you that are here for the Bay Point, what we've done is scheduled it for 7 o'clock on the 26th. It'll be in the basement of the town hall as of right now. I would suggest you watch the town's website to check any changes. Again, sorry to drag you out for the delay tonight. It was kind of a last minute that we found out that we'd be a member short. So could I get a motion to continue the public hearing to May 26th?
Make a motion that we continue the public hearing for Bay Point Club LLC's application until May 26th. Can't make it. Hang on. Oh, happy birthday.
Yeah,
Are you coming or not?
you know,
You might have another one.
Maybe.
Hmm?
I'd do it for the 18th.
What's the next Monday on the calendar? Is June 1st?
Yeah,
We gotta get a hold of Mike anyway.
Let's still go for the 18th.
We'll just stick with the
Got
Monday
nothing
dates.
else.
We
Why
can't go
don't you just
anywhere
try for
with it.
next week and we'll post it like you said and get it done?
Yeah,
fine by me.
yeah, sure. Just tell me the day and I'll change this to.
We could reach out to Mike to make sure his illness isn't. So that's gonna last for. Is that okay? 18?
Okay,
Back to the
Yeah.
18th.
we're back to the
So-
18th,
So,
folks.
Mr. Chairman, a correction, I'd make a motion that we continue the application of Bay Point until May 18th. And will that be here or in the
That'll
cafeteria?
be here.
That'll be in this room here on May 18th at 7 o'clock.
And again, check the town website just to double check before that time. There's a motion, is there a second?
second.
Any discussion? Any other birthdays? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Just trying to get peace at home.
So, May 18th.
Next is a discussion with Bay Point, Walmart, sorry, I got Bay Point on the brain here. Walmart. Just give a minute for the room to clear, we'll be all set.
Point it out, can I say it?
It's tough when it takes you a while.
if we could just get you to take take it into the hallway, please.
So we could see what it says in reference to town previously.
We have a zoning bylaw.
All right,
Unless there's any-
floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Jim Cransler. I'm with Bowler Engineering. This is Brian Pendleton. He's the traffic consultant who worked on the project, the design plans and permitting. The reason we're before you tonight is there was a condition of approval in the approval conditions stating that all of the final off-site improvements have to be in place before you get a temp CO or a final, which is a common sense thing. It makes perfect sense. There was a condition that was encountered during construction in the fall that nobody was aware of during excavation. It turns out that the gas main owned and maintained by National Grid was substandard, wasn't at the proper depth. Some of the backfill was a little bit questionable. So long story short, we worked with them, and Walmart is now flipping the bill for 1,400 linear feet of gas main relocation in order to allow these improvements to happen. And that's delayed things considerably. Walmart has already pushed out their original store opening date by a month or two, I believe. Right now, the grand opening is set for mid-August, and they're looking to get their temp CO by mid-July. We have just recently finally got National Grid to go out there to do the gas main relocation work. There was a big delay because of the winter conditions that delayed everything. And they're going to be done with their work the end of this week. But the reason we're here before you tonight is to have a backfall to get an interim plan blessed by you. It's already been approved by the DOT. We have a letter from them. They're comfortable with it. The ZBA has also reviewed this. They're okay with that. So I'll tell you what the changes are. So as you're aware, the improvements included some roadway widening and obviously restriping, reconfiguration of the signal. The gas main in question is on the east side of the road, so looking at the plan, it's the top of the page. Under the current roadway improvement conditions, before Walmart came here, there were 1-foot shoulders in the road. DOT's current standard is 4-foot shoulders. That's their current standard. Because of the gas main work going on now, we would look to basically shift the entire alignment of the road, not the roadway alignment, but the striping would shift a couple of feet to the west. The total number of lanes would remain unchanged. The queue length of the lanes would remain unchanged. The only difference is there would be 1-foot shoulders for a temporary condition until the main is relocated. Once it's relocated, then everything will shift back over. There'll be 4-foot shoulders, and then the final improvements will be in place.
I think,
Does that
like,
make sense
yeah,
if you want
like,
to elaborate
well,
further
like just
on that?
for clarification, that the gas main work is gonna be done this week, supposedly. And now our contractor needs to go out and do all the widening on the north side or the east side of the road. He may not get that all done before they want their temporary CO. If he doesn't get that done, this is a fallback plan to restripe it, give the same number of lanes, same width lanes. The only difference being, as Jim mentioned, is 1-foot shoulders, because we had to pull everything to the west, so that we could build it without having the widening to the east. So we're gonna start that construction. I believe the hope is that the contractor can move fast enough and we never need to implement this interim plan. We can go right to final striping. But we want to be proactive and get out in front of you in case, 2 months from now, he's just wrapping up his widening and looking for a temporary open.
Where are your on-site work? Is that complete, or?
They're going to be substantially completed with the site work by the end of this month. The interior work is plugging along. But there's a lot of lipstick that goes on towards the end of the project to make everything 100%. I know that they did get a temp CO for racking within the store. That was issued a couple months ago. They would look to get a temporary CO to start bringing merchandise in within 2 months from now. And then they would, if needed, they would look to get a temp CO to open the store under this interim measure. Again, only if they need to do it to make that target opening date.
And how does this, I understand Mass Highway is intending to do an overhaul of Route 28, how does that mix in with them, or does it affect you at all? or-
Yeah, if Mass Highway's doing an overlay, or I would imagine they're gonna end at the limits of this project, because they're fully aware of this. We're working with them constantly throughout this process. We had to send them this interim plan. They agreed to allow it, on a temporary basis. You know, we laid out the timeline. You know, we think the longest this thing would be in place would be a month or two. So I don't see it being in place, and we're hoping it doesn't have to be in place at all.
Mhm.
We were certainly hoping that last November, but now we're just finishing up the gas work now.
Any questions?
Mass Highways approved these?
Yeah, here's a letter I can, if you'd like, I
Sure.
can give you a copy showing that they take no objection to the interim plan. It actually, the review did take probably, 2 months? Some back and forth, some things they wanted addressed, and we've addressed all their concerns. And they're happy with the current plan.
They're happier with the final bill, but they'll accept, understanding what we went through trying to get the gas line moved.
So where did they hit you for the gas? Just on the road right in front of you, 2 entries?
Yeah.
Gas being relocated runs
That's
all
our,
the way
that's
up.
wrong.
Even
Yeah.
1,400 feet, the full length of the project.
Right.
Because we're widening to that side of the road, so.
Sounds
The
like
whole
that.
thing.
Yeah. Good. Takes care of that.
And the purpose of this temporary would be for opening?
Right, it would be to avoid any further delay. Walmart did already push back the grand opening by a month or two. You know, their books and their projected opening, they have several months to prepare. They can't just, call it within a week, so we just want to be, prepared and make sure everything is in place.
Yeah, I thought the last date I heard was a June date, now it's August. Did you by chance draft a document as to what you're actually requesting?
I do not have a draft, but really what we're looking for is to be able to secure a temporary CO for both being able to merchandise the store and to allow a grand opening with a temporary CO. The final CO would be secured once the final improvements are in place.
But what you're looking for from us is approval of the temporary striping.
And I think it would amend there's a condition right now, condition 12, or 13, in the decision that states that all of the final improvements need to be in place before a temporary or final CO can be obtained. So we're looking to maybe change that.
You're looking for some
condition.
relief on that condition, but not to change that condition. Shoulders still have to be improved, it still has to be widened. So the contractor, if he doesn't make it by, for you for mid-August, he's still gonna continue on it, you're just gonna stripe it so
Right.
the authorities can see that you gave them their 2 lanes by and their 1
Exactly.
lane in.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with it, I saw the gas guys out there today, so it should go good.
Say it's condition 12,
13, I'm sorry.
13?
13. And, there's also a bond in place with the DOT for, $1.5 million? Where, the bond money can't get released until the work is blessed by them. So there is some leverage there, obviously.
So, are you writing up a motion?
I'm working on it.
Everything else has to be done,
Say again?
The temporary seal would not,
You're working that way.
I am. Today I started my third week. 10 more years I'm on that.
You're not traveling anymore.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Rowley comment on this, where he was the engineer representing the town on the project?
You would like to hear from Charlie? Have you any thoughts on this?
No, I think as I stated the last time this was brought up, I believe Vanass and Company is actually doing the inspection of all of the work that's in the state highway. My work has been associated mainly with the site itself. Although I'm going by there on a daily basis, I see what they're doing. And I would guess that probably 80 to 85% of that gas main is already in the ground because they have dug the trench and patched over it from the west end headed toward the intersection. When I went by there this afternoon, they were making a cut across the intersection. So it's pretty close to being done. But I haven't actually done that inspection. That's been Vanass and Company that does that within the state highway limits. Just a question out of curiosity, Charlie, why you, this entrance right here, that turn right there, so when you're coming up this way, you can take a right in there. Have you been watching that? Yes. I was sitting in traffic today while they were cutting that gas thing, and I'm looking at that turn. That's terrible. Just my 2 cents. It's supposed to be a one-way turn, so that you can only turn right to get in. To get in. And you can turn right to get out. Yeah. You cannot make a left-hand turn. Okay, yeah.
I thought
That's the whole idea.
it had you can come up the street and take a left into there now.
There's a left turn pocket in front of it. Yeah, but the actual intersection is right turn only. You might be able to come up and make some sort of a turn internally in front of the out parcel, but you can't make a left-hand turn at the intersection.
You can't make a left out, I think you can make a
That's
left
correct.
in. Yeah, you can make a left in, but you can't make a left out.
Yeah,
That's
the
what
right, the right-hand side, Charlie, it looks like people can come this way and take a left.
It's got an exclusive
I'm just talking about the
turn
right.
lane. This is a left turn pocket, and you can get by here. That allows
Oh,
you
all
to
right,
make a left turn.
okay.
But you can't
All
make
right.
Talking about the
You
tightness
can't
of
make
the
a left-hand
radius.
turn, no.
yeah, the radius is, so when you're coming from the, you know, from your end of town, and
Yeah.
you come up and you take a right in there, you just,
It's sharp, but it's intended
made
to
for
be.
people to take a left is what it's made for, Charlie. It's not, I'll tell you, my 2 cents, sitting in traffic looking at it, people are gonna drive right over it, because you take a right in there, and then you kinda gotta turn to get in. It's made for people coming from the other end and take a left in there, is what that curve is made for.
I'll take another look at it.
Just
when I'm out there
sitting in
next time.
traffic looking at
Yeah.
it, and I've put in 100 of them, I'm just telling you, it's
Yeah.
steep, you know, so. But anyway, my 2 cents.
That's okay.
Other than that, I think it's good, huh?
So what I penned was to grant relief from condition 13 to allow a temporary CO with temporary pavement markings in place till utility and paving on Route 28 complete. Does that pretty much sum it up?
In accordance with the approval by,
I think Mass DOT
Yes.
references a plan, an interim, maybe a date on it. They might just
They,
reference that.
yeah, we want subject to their conditions.
And, right, they put a 90-day, was it 90
Yeah,
days?
as I said, anticipated 3 months.
Well, while I'm sitting here, I do have one question on that with respect to the paving and doing the work in conjunction with Mass Highway for the rest of 28. Are you pulverizing the final area in front of your project to get it to sort of a workable grade, or you simply go and overlay all the trenching and everything that's up there?
I need to review the documents to see if they're doing some milling you're talking about?
Yeah.
Milling?
Yeah.
They might be milling to achieve some grades, I'm not, I know.
It'd be good if they
certainly
would.
the full depth, there wouldn't be, but some of the existing pavement may need to be milled.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of trenches and an awful lot of temporary pavement that's out there that I'd hate to see just an overlay on that without it being smoothed out some. Especially where they're doing the road all the way
Well, I think the intent is to grind the entire length of 28, right? The state
Yes,
project.
yeah, the same as they've done in
So they would have
Middleborough.
to maintain road height without,
Yeah, I understand, but
but
at the same time, to put an overlay over all of the various things that have been done out there without milling it to get it relatively smooth, so you don't have variable thicknesses, you don't have to put a leveling course on and bring it up to grade. It would be good if it would mill to a constant thickness and put a good overlay on it, so it's done right.
I'm sure that the top course is gonna be a constant, I think it's an inch and 3/4 required by Mass DOT.
Mhm.
So whether there's a leveling course or milling to attain those grades, you'd have to do something. That's typical how Mass Highway would proceed with that. They wouldn't allow variable depth on the top course to do a variable depth leveling course or a milling.
Right, and then the top is a
And the
constant.
top is a
I understand that,
constant, inch and 3/4,
but it'd be nice if the base to start with was one level rather than have a variety of them. That's all I'm saying.
so, what's the board's pleasure?
Well, let me just ask a question on that, Charlie. What would the state do then? If they're coming all the way up, through Middleborough, you know, up through West Wareham to that, and then all the way up to the other end of town, would they not, and they're grinding and paving, would they not buzz right by that, or are they gonna say that
I have no idea.
that they allowed that contract to go on and they skipped it? I can't believe that fell through the cracks, you know what I mean? I think the state contractor's got figured to go right by that.
I would assume that the state contractor's gonna butt either end of this. They'll put a joint across
All right,
and they'll tie in because it's all gonna be new pavement when we're out there and it's all being built according to the Mass DOT specifications.
okay,
I mean, they're constantly out there. I mean, we're out there daily
yeah.
and they send someone out at least 3 or 4 times a week to check on what
Okay.
we're watching.
So then Charlie's concern should be eyeballed daily by you guys.
Yeah, exactly.
I added per Mass DOT correspondence dated 4/28/15. There's a couple of permit numbers here, but they seem to be for the whole project, so I don't see anything
That's good.
referencing those.
All right.
So it's temporary relief to condition 13.
Right.
Okay. Second,
Is that a second?
that's a second.
Discussion? Anything? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? So moved.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you.
Let's see, where did I go with that?
Is that a problem?
It may be a problem for the onset residents. Why did I think that was, I didn't realize it was that late in the month. I thought it was the first Monday. Regarding the Bay Point on May 18th, that's the same night as the Onset Fire District annual meeting.
Okay.
So
Which,
you have to be there?
I don't have to be there, but I'm sure some of the attendees this evening would.
The onset residents?
Oh, that's not good.
How about the 19th?
That's what I was asking them on the way out.
Oh,
Anybody upset with that? We can't do anything about it, Robert?
excuse me?
See,
We
that's
can't
why,
do anything about it, what's set is set?
that's when I don't like changing nights. You meet on two Mondays,
I mean, I think we should try to accommodate the
you
residents.
know what I mean? Is that you're trying to help the client, you're trying to
What
help the
caused
people
this to be
speed
delayed?
along,
Or
and this is just what happens. They got, you've got an appointment,
Yeah.
you just leave it for Mondays.
maybe back to the 19th or 26th or
June 1st?
20th? I mean, I'll do any night just to satisfy the residents. We've been here twice now.
You wanna move it one day or 2 days?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think Tuesday nights are free over there, right?
Tuesday's free.
Wednesday, you could be
Wednesday.
Concom or ZBA on Wednesdays.
Concom's the first and third. ZBA is,
That would be the third on, that's the third Wednesday.
Concom and ZBA meet over the cafeteria.
Well, that's what,
That's what
I thought we'd have to be there. We'd,
And I don't believe the finance committee is meeting, so you could be here on Wednesday. If you want. The only advantage would be here, if they film it.
We
makes
should
it
go
easy
back
for
to
you to-
June first or
Yeah,
whatever it is.
I'd like to stick with our regular Monday nights.
Is the 20th a good date for you folks?
No.
No, Wednesday's not a good day?
Is it worth our while to try and juggle dates? Why don't we just stick with our Monday nights and go with our calendar? And it is what it is. You know, an applicant comes in, he asks for a continuance, that, you know, that's what it is. It's sinful that the people have to keep waiting, but we've had applicants here night after night after night from Rhode Island and what have you coming down here. Like that cemetery guy, he was here, 4 times? And it just, you know, let go, let go, let go. So I think we just stick with our Monday nights, and it falls on one of those Monday nights, and that's what they get. And every time we try to appease them, it runs into something else, it runs into a conflict, and it's just not fair to, now it's not fair to probably how many of those people that want to attend that other meeting. You know, it's tough, you know? You're bending over backwards to help them, but then some other committee or thing has something, and now they're split, and then it's gonna be nastiness. Well, you know, you guys met on a special night instead of just leaving it Mondays. So I just vote now, let's leave it what our nights are, and they can pick one of our nights.
So that would be the next meeting, which is
June 8th would be our next meeting.
Or June first, I mean, I don't mind extra meetings, I
I
just,
don't
I,
know.
you know, just
I-
like to get a date that's,
Yeah.
I don't know if a week is gonna matter, right? From 1st to the 8th. That's the village week. I'll make whatever you want.
You wanna go with the 8th?
Is that the 8th is what, a regular meeting, right?
Right.
Yeah, then that's what it is.
Works for you?
is there a way to get notice to everybody?
Well, the the town website would be we don't collect contact information on people attending here, so we can't send them individual emails, so.
Alan, do you know some people with phone numbers that you could call, or we could call, or something?
This gentleman here knows some of them.
We could,
Just,
could get a hold of, Lee Gay or his wife, and she could probably get them up. I'll send them
you know, we should do something other than relying on the website.
We could also have them announce it at the Onset Fire District meeting.
There you go.
If you're here, those are the people who aren't gonna be here anyway.
Anyway, would someone care to make a fresh motion?
Mr. Cronin?
Yes, sir, I'm sorry. You want a motion? What night, Mr. Chairman, have we, the 8th?
Yeah, I think that's the same. If we meet on the 1st, we're gonna have, you know, I don't think 1 week is enough for them to come back to us with fresh information, so.
Okay. Well, Mr. Chairman, after some information from a citizen was brought to our selectman liaison and was passed on to you, I make a motion that we continue the application of Bay Point Country Club LLC to our regular meeting night on June 8th. And Selectman Slavin says that he might know somebody that can call somebody and inform some of them, so that would be good.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Would that be 7 PM, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, 7 p.m.
Regular meeting, 7 p.m.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Yeah.
Don't forget to tell Larry when
Say that?
Don't forget to tell Larry when it
Yeah,
Right.
we gotta call Larry. Very good. We have a Mylar for Eleanor Estates that needs to be signed. I think we were awaiting the covenant, which is, thank you. Which was filed and the appeal period is passed. What's the date of approval on that?
Eleanor?
See if it's here.
I don't know if I'll have that.
Oh. Certificate approval was March 23rd. And the next thing on the agenda is a discussion regarding Next Sun Energy. Is that correct? Go ahead, Bill.
You all ready?
Yep.
Good evening, I'm Bill Madden from GAF Engineering, here on behalf of Next Sun Energy. The reason we're before you tonight is the applicant has filed for a special permit with the Zoning Board of Appeals and is in site plan review. And as part of that process, we are required to obtain a recommendation from the planning board relative to the project, and continuing on with the hearings with the zoning board. We had a meeting with the zoning board back in April. We selected this date to come before the planning board. We've been in discussions with the Conservation Commission on the project. We had been waiting for an abbreviated notice of resource area approval from Concom. Due to the weather, they weren't able to get out to verify the wetland line. After some time, Dave was able to get out there. He did look at the line that was approved at the last Conservation Commission hearing. Not quite simultaneously with the filing of the INRAD, we also filed a notice of intent for the project. One of the things that we were seeking was a waiver to the local wetland bylaw to conduct the activities within the 50-foot no activity zone that the bylaw states we shall stay out of for commercial projects. At the last meeting with Conservation, they agreed to let us conduct some limited work within that 50-foot no activity zone. They've allowed us to alter the 50-foot no activity zone on the southerly portion of the site to take more advantage of the angle of the sun at the times of the year that's most appropriate to harvest the the solar energy. But in any case, that's just the reasons why we're here. This project is located, I don't know if you're familiar with it at all, but it's located on that strip of commercial strip zoned land that runs behind Wareham Plaza and goes almost all the way out to Hathaway Street. It actually butts right up to the backside of Beaver Creek Lane, so there's this 40-acre tract of commercially zoned land in that area. And this identifies the limits of the property and the limits of the zoning. So you can see that it runs from behind the Shaw's Plaza almost all the way to Hathaway Street. The access for the project will come from Beaver Creek Road. We're proposing this a 15-foot wide access way into the site. It's where all the equipment will be brought in to assemble the panels and to provide access for the workers and what have you. It's a 1.8 meg facility. This, I don't know if you can really see it that well. But we have a westerly portion and an easterly portion. The easterly portion is significantly larger than the westerly. Quite a bit of wetlands on the site. It's a 40-acre site. We're going to alter about 11 acres on the property. So it's roughly 28% of the land area will be consumed by the project. We designed it in a manner so that we try to respect that 50-foot no activity zone with the placement of all the panels. There's no permanent structures being constructed within that 50-foot no activity zone, but there will be the perimeter fence and the perimeter roadway system around the panels that will be constructed in there. And when I spoke about the relief granted by conservation, was essentially on this southerly portion on the easterly array, and on the westerly array they did something, gave some relief down in this area, also to accommodate some stormwater management drainage basins. We've designed the drainage in a manner that accepts the runoff from the panels. It'll run off the drip edge and it'll drop into an infiltration trench. Once the infiltration trench is at its capacity, it'll overflow to down gradient drainage basins that we have. This sheet shows the westerly portion, the access off of Beaver Creek, Beaver Creek Lane, a couple of the smaller drainage basins, then these in the panels in the arrays. There's one roadway system traveling around the westerly side. Then it gets, due to the wetlands, we have a roadway that's pretty close to the Dinah's Way subdivision. One of the things that did come up at the first zoning hearing was the lack of landscaping on the plan. There wasn't a strong desire to build the type of landscaping that's required under the bylaw, and that was quickly changed with the ZBA's direction to meet the standard of the bylaw. I think it's a 95% screening ability from the residential receptor to the site. So they've now engaged a landscape architect to come up with the planting scheme or the berming scheme or a combination of both, perhaps even some fencing to provide the necessary screening. So that's an effort that's still underway at this point in time. As far as the access goes, the access, as I said, is off of Beaver Creek. It will be fairly substantial during the construction phase of the project, which they say will be roughly 3 months or so. I'm not certain how long it will take. The site will not be the easiest site to work on, but everything can be done given enough time and money in that respect. So drainage, once again, I don't know if I completed the discussion, but all the drainage will come off of the panels and hit this drip edge. And then the way the site is graded, it's naturally graded from the north to the south. There's not really a big intention to change the slope of the ground. Once we pull the stumps, remove the boulders, the ground shape will still slope from the north to the south. So when those infiltration trenches reach their capacity, they'll overflow and they'll fill these drainage basins down to the southerly portion of the site and contain the required stormwater. It's been designed to accommodate the 100-year storm event, so we're not anticipating any significant problems dealing with drainage. DEP has been looking very closely at all solar projects lately, particularly when they're near wetland resource areas. So we followed their guidance to the T. They gave it to us, and that's what we did. The site is also mapped as habitat by Natural Heritage Endangered Species Program. They have commented back on the project, and they've given us their direction as far as how they would like us to proceed with respect to their issues that they're responsible for. The biggest one is really just raising the fence about 6 inches off the ground to allow for the passage of the eastern box turtle, which is the species of special concern, I think, on this particular site. So won't require any utilities to run it other than we will have to make a service connection to NSTAR. I think it's NSTAR or Eversource, whoever it might be this year. And they're still working on negotiating how that is going to take place. So I'm not really certain as to what that is going to entail at the present time. But it's straightforward in some respects, not so straightforward in others. This is the easterly portion. It's roughly twice the size as the westerly portion. Wetland boundary, buffer zone, roadway fence, and then the arrays within it in the drainage. So
What's the extent of the clear cutting?
the clear cut, it's going to be about 11.5 acres.
I mean, beyond, are you gonna be?
We're going to be cutting in this southerly portion, the numbers I have written on one of the plans from conservation. We're able on the southerly portion to clear up to the wetland boundary. And then the remaining portions of the site will have to be required to respect that 50-foot no activity zone. So where we're able to work within the 50-foot no activity zone, we're able to utilize the entire 50 feet. When we are not in that, the area that we've been granted permission to work, we have to respect the 50-foot no activity zone. So we'll be revising this plan to shrink it down a little bit. We just haven't, this is a week ago Wednesday when we had the meeting. We haven't really had the opportunity to revise the plan. But I think the project will be reduced in scope to some degree. I'm not certain if it's 10 or 15%. They have a tendency to shrink a little bit more than what anybody really anticipates. I mean, I think I'm being conservative thinking that it's probably a 20% reduction in the total area once it's all said and done. So that's kind of what's going on with that. It's like the thumbnail sketch. No utilities, no services.
Yeah, may I? Bill, so all the panels go in and your drainage system and it's running downhill. I mean, it's running towards your wetland area. Doesn't affect your drainage, right, with the wetlands. I mean, you're not gonna have over flooding, or your systems are designed to pick up everything from that whole acreage.
Right, we're gonna match the pre-development flow out of our drainage basins to what existed.
Okay, and then in the areas, for example, that you said that you'd have to utilize some of the space for the roadway to get around the panels. In the wet season or whatever, God forbid a fire truck or whatever had to get through there, are they gonna be passable, or is it gonna be too wet?
It should be passable, but I think we have to be specific with what's told as far as the roadway structure. I mean, fire department access, I don't know if a fire department access is the critical vehicle out there. Definitely an EMS ambulance would be, but you know, whatever the standards, we show a gravel road through
Okay.
there.
No, my concern was, you know, April time, March, April, whenever the wettest is, you guys can tell me, you know the area much better. I'm just thinking, an emergency vehicle had to come around that roadway, comes in towards that wetland area that you've utilized for roadway. You know, you don't want the guy knee-deep in water and someone's still laying there. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious if they might want to put a road down the middle or, you know, whatever. Doesn't.
Yeah, there is actually enough room between the panels to go down there, but there was no desire to create a roadway there, but that's the layout that they typically use. I think they're, you know, the soils are tough back there, the ground is tough, there's a lot of rocks, a lot of boulders, so, you know, they have the work cut out for them to build this thing down there.
So what's happening under the arrays? Is it grass, or are they doing anything under there?
Yeah, it's just gonna be seeded with a conservation seed mix underneath the panels.
And are they gonna have to be mowed on a regular basis?
The mowing, I think is a twice-a-year mowing scheme is what they're looking at.
How high are the panels off the ground? They're usually a couple of feet, I think.
We had a discussion that they could be as high as 4 feet at the conservation commission meeting, but we're showing them at 18 inches here. I think our latest meeting was 24 is what we're talking about.
Yeah, 2 feet is what I've run across. I was gonna ask the same question with the vegetation, but if they have something that they buzz through a couple of times a year, it should be fine. It seems once they tear it all up to put the concrete in to hold those bases, that you don't get a lot growing around
Yeah,
it anyway.
and they're telling us that they're gonna use helicals or just driven piles into the ground, which is, you know, I'm not,
Yeah, they're getting pretty good at it,
yeah.
so.
Mr. Chairman? Mr. Madden, I have a number of questions.
Okay.
Has the Conservation Commission actually signed off on your project?
We have not received full approval yet, no.
Okay. My concerns relate to neighbors, primarily, so I'd like to know how close the neighbors are to the site. I saw a neighborhood in one of the pages. I'd like to know how close those houses are and exactly how the applicant plans on buffering the neighbors from that solar field. In the past, the solar fields that we've worked on seemed like they were in pretty remote areas and they weren't really visible. They weren't really an attractive nuisance to the neighbors' children. This case, it looks like it's much closer, so I have real concerns with that. Another concern I have is in reference to the health and well-being of neighbors. Again, just based on reports I've read in reference to other electrical fields, there is some potential hazards to people. So I'm not so much worried about the solar panels themselves, but as the power generation goes through the system and how close is that gonna be to residences. I was wondering, you talked about the height of the panels. I understand the bottom of the panels at 2 feet. I'd like to know what the top elevation is of the top of the panels and to make sure that those are blocked from the neighbors so that they're not looking at that solar field. During the construction, you said it's gonna be a little bit of a tough site. I'm wondering if the applicants considered what they're gonna do for dust control and construction.
There'll be a stormwater pollution prevention plan for construction activities on this site, so that will all be handled under that NIPD's document.
Okay.
And we would expect to forward a copy of that to the zoning board, planning board if desired, but into conservation as well.
And I think my last question ties into a question already raised, but the safety vehicles getting onto the property and be able to navigate the entire property so that they can get to any point on the property in case they have to help somebody for whatever reason. They have climbed a fence, done something inappropriate. So basically my questions relate to the neighbors and safety issues.
We haven't had the chance to develop that landscaping plan, but that was the same theme that was brought up at the zoning board hearing. Sheila Rocha, who lives here, forget the gentleman's name who lives here, he had some concerns, No one from Dinah's Way, interestingly enough, showed up at the meeting, but we think that there has to be something fairly significant in this back area, any place that we don't have really the existing wooded buffer is where that landscape feature
Right.
needs to be, and we think that that's one of the things that's will either make or break the project. The neighbors are gonna need to be protected to some degree, we recognize that.
Right,
What kind of
And
fencing is
where-
gonna be, excuse me,
sorry.
It's chain link,
how high?
6, I wanna say.
I think of it.
And each field will be fenced independently,
Um,
each array?
Yeah, I mean, the only piece that wouldn't be would be this piece here, but I'm thinking that it's most likely gonna be completely fenced to keep access from the north out. You know, they would have to do that. So I'm thinking that we show the fence around the entire site. The fence is a 6-foot chain link fence,
How high is it?
6 feet.
6 feet?
And they're asking you to raise it 6 inches off the ground for the turtles?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are gonna be gates with locks that the town's gonna have access to?
Yes. I don't know what the procedure is with the fire department in emergency on the gates, but bolt cutters work wonders. They're quicker
Those brush breakers,
sometimes.
they go right through those chain
Yeah.
link gates, yeah.
The fields, with the power they generate, I know it hasn't been completely determined, but where is the electric company looking at putting access to tie into those fields?
It would be on Hathaway.
Could you point to that, because I don't know that area?
Hathaway Street is out here.
So it would have to go through a residential area?
Yes.
Yeah.
And this power, we're told this power has already been sold to, I want to say it was the New Bedford Housing Authority, something along those lines.
1.8, right?
1.8.
Yeah.
Which we think it'll be going down a little.
Is that coming out underground, Bill, or is that overhead?
We felt that it needed to be underground, that's what I've advised them.
And I don't know what's on Hathaway for connections, but you'd come through some access point underground out to Hathaway,
Right.
so.
Our thoughts are that the access to Hathaway would be within the layout of Beaver Creek, but there's some issues that were brought up with Beaver Creek with some of the neighbors also. That road has got the binder course on it for 15 years. There's an ownership thing that we have to contend with in some way, shape, or form. So there are some things that we know going through zoning that are gonna come up that the neighbors are gonna want to have rectified. I mean, I don't necessarily think that you can, build that whole thing without having any glitch in the system going on. But I think the troublesome point is that there is no top on that road and they haven't had a top on it for 15 years. So how's that gonna get taken care of and who's gonna pay for it, I guess, is really the bottom line at the end of the day.
Well, you said things like, you recommended that the line be underground, but what have they said about it?
I think the reason I recommended underground is because the planning board rules and regulations require that all your utilities be underground, so I didn't think that it made any sense to deviate from that.
No, I know, but have they signed off on that, or?
No, not yet, not as of yet. We haven't even determined where that connection is actually gonna take place, so there is a little bit of work to do with that end of the project.
So with zoning kind of saying that they need to adhere to the landscape and the buffer, your client is considering the berm situation, which I see in these solar fields everywhere, as you know, Bill. They put the berm in and a little bit of planting and they kind of go away. You walk by them, you don't even think of looking in. Probably be the smart thing.
Yeah, and you know, one of the landscape architects that they've hired, I think the way the bylaw reads is it states that the landscape buffer has to be like a 95% screen. So, you know, what does it take to create a 95% screen? I'm not the guy to ask that question.
I just know, I think a couple of the fields that you know, another big applicant in town has done. As you drive by them, you see 50, 60 feet of scrub pine, but you see the berm and you can't see in, you know, I mean, it kind of goes away. So I think if the applicant is smart, they'll adhere to what zoning has told them, and I think those neighbors would be satisfied, unless they were up on their second floor window or something and could look over, but
Yeah.
I think street-wise and first floor level-wise, some sort of berm, some sort of 95%, it would go away. Because these things are going up everywhere and town
Yeah.
after town.
Yeah, and there's a lot of smaller ones that you know, that we've been involved with. I mean, I don't really understand the whole solar concept but there's smaller fields that the neighborhood groups can purchase into, and we've been doing a couple of those are half the size of this. So just really wonder how it all works. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought they were shifting their emphasis away from large ground-mounted solar in favor of smaller
Yeah.
building-mounted.
Oh, there you go, yeah, you're on track.
I don't know what they need to tie into as far as the grid, but I would think you'd have more power on the plaza end than you would on Hathaway, but that's not for me to decide.
Yeah, it's just a tough way to get over there with the
Yeah.
wetlands, the significance of the wetlands. There's a stream crossing down there as well that maybe they'll.
I know there was some upgrading done on Hathaway to rectify a problem at the plaza, that were, you know, so they may be adequate now.
I don't know.
Any other questions?
Well, are we supposed to be passing on?
Yeah, giving a recommendation or a
Recommendations.
critique to the Board of Appeals. When do
Well,
you
I
go
think
back to the
Michael
board?
had some good points
Yeah.
that should be passed along, and we really don't have a definitive plan yet. I mean, we really don't actually know what they're doing in some parts of it.
Did you get any feedback back from any other fire department, police department, anybody like that?
No. Haven't seen any yet.
Yeah. When do you go back to the Board of Appeals?
I want to say it's first week in June, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Then May 27th pops out in my mind, but what day is that? That's like Wednesday,
That's
so
a
that wouldn't
Wednesday.
be, yeah, that would be.
That would be
zoning
zoning,
board of
yeah,
appeals.
yeah.
The 27th? Yeah, okay, it is the 27th. Thanks, John.
Okay, are we doing Bay Point then? Well, if there's no other questions, we will put something together and forward it over to the board.
I think the comments are all, everything you brought up is fair, consistent with what we've heard from others. And,
In looking at that sketch, will you be clear cutting from the limit of the fields to the property line?
well, to construct the berm up here, we're gonna have to do that, or
I mean more the southerly side.
the southerly side down here.
Mhm.
Blinded.
Yes.
Yeah, what's the deal with that? Just a reflection?
In both cases.
No, over here it's gonna be back up in here.
They must have it.
Just on the outside of the drainage basin is what what they're allowing us to do, so we're gonna be much closer here. I talked to Keith Mann owns Mann Farms, they own this tract of land down here. He's not opposed to the project. He's in fact done a couple of pretty large wind projects himself over in Plymouth, off of 495 southbound, or 25, whatever we want to call it. So he didn't have any issue with things, but I mean, I know Sheila did. Figurelli, I believe is his name, and nobody up here. You know, our survey work that we've done, we've recognized that there's a few encroachments going on up there from those people, but you know, we still have our obligations, and whatever we need to do, it will be done.
And the previously approved plan for the cluster subdivision, what would that be? Was that filed? I assume it was.
For the
Would that be rescinded, or?
I thought that those permits were expired.
I would think so, unless they got something from the Permit Extension Act.
We did get some distance from the Permit Extension Act, and I know that Larry Goldstein Associates that owns the property, they were talking with Larry Winokur, just trying to keep both ends of things open for the, you know, optimal benefit to the landowner. So I don't really know what the status is of that. I want to say that we kind of feel in our office that most of it has expired, but we've really let the attorneys deal with that as time has been going on. But that was a special permit too, I believe, for the cluster. So what is it, a 2-year timeline on the start?
And you're not proposing any through traffic out to Route 6 or to the plaza? Anything further? Guess we're good.
All right. Well, we look forward to receiving your comments and incorporating them into the plan, and see where it goes on the 27th.
Okay.
Yeah, I think your comments are good, Mike. Just,
Can you do something, Michael?
you put your letterhead on that and turn it in for us?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk.
Yeah.
And don't forget the part about the tinfoil hats, you know.
Thanks very much.
Thank you, Bill. Thanks for coming in.
Take care.
That is, looks like the extent, we do have some minutes. Do you each have copies of those minutes?
Couple of them.
I haven't read them all, Mr. Chairman.
wasn't here on any of them.
I say two of the sets of the minutes, it was you and Mike Baptiste, so if you and he vote on them, that would be acceptable, right? Two out of the three of you?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Chairman, I have email addresses for the two people who sent us something on Baypoint. I can send them a note and just tell them that it's, ask them to spread the word around. Hmm? Oh, for those two? Yes, and, the other one, Cynthia McCarthy. I don't know, she might know the people out there or could pass the word along.
Yes, there.
Pay no attention to the voice behind the curtain. If you had time to review the minutes,
Mike, did you sign that plan? Subdivision plan?
No,
No?
no.
Wish you guys would, rather than just have one signature.
I
on
can't-
the,
Yeah, you're talking about Eleanor?
The definitive, yeah.
I can't sign that one, right?
Where you on?
I recuse myself from that one.
I can send it this way and get 3 signatures. There's 3 copies there.
Three?
Well, 3 different pages, and 3 copies.
That's the one off of Great Neck Road, correct?
Yeah.
Yes. I had previously talked to the realtor about trying to buy that property, so I didn't feel comfortable.
Now, this Mylar for street acceptance, it just says filed with the planning board and a date. It's the selectmen that actually approve it.
Yeah, you just have to sign it because it was filed with you.
Just trying to keep those open for a minute so they can be
This is when it showed up, so.
But you had a public hearing on it to vote to recommend the acceptance at the town meeting, which was what, the 23rd?
That was the,
27th.
yeah, the night of town meeting is when it was wrapped up, which was,
That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's,
Terrible.
but it was filed with us,
That's base, Sean?
yeah.
That's the one you're looking at now?
Now it's working.
That was approved by the town?
It was approved by town meeting,
It has to be pretty good.
accepted, the selectmen, depending on how we're going to accept it, may or may not.
So you need that signed too, George?
No, this is just a single signature. Any action on the minutes?
Well, the February 23rd set of minutes, I would make a motion that we approve as written.
Is there a second?
Second that.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm gonna abstain.
One abstention, Bob was not present. There's one down. All in favor?
Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of August 11th, 2014 as written.
And I will second that out of necessity. You said, which date?
August 11th.
August 11th, okay. Yeah, I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain.
202. Oops, I signed in the wrong place. On the previous one.
You ready, Mr. Chairman?
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to make a motion to accept the minutes of August 25th, 2014 as written, please.
And I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstained?
Abstain.
Same thing, 202. And that's all I have on the agenda. If there's anything else. There was a question on a member of the planning board to participate in the so-called junk committee. And I'd be looking for a volunteer.
When's that meeting, Mr. Chairman?
From what I understand, the moderator is looking to do interviews on Wednesday and try to appoint the committee before the week is out because she's leaving on vacation.
She
Wednesday
called
is-
me about it, and I told
Who is
her
the moderator?
I'd do it if no one else would do it.
Claire
but
Smith.
I'm sure that a chairman would be a very appropriate person
I think Wednesday's a good day for you, Mr.
to be
Reed.
on the committee.
Well, I don't know because I do have the occasion to sell used equipment and I don't feel inclined to take on a partner. Meaning the town of Wareham.
Mm.
This is all what? Please return after the meeting.
What is the purpose of that? Isn't it to
Uh,
determine who should be licensed?
I think they're trying to look at the bylaw and the licenses that are currently,
You good at that?
I think, and Alan can correct me if I'm wrong, that they have found a vast discrepancy in the number of license issued and the number of operations in place,
The
and,
bylaw says, regulates junk, but junk defined by the state as any secondhand
Item?
goods.
Yes.
So thrift shop and the Salvation Army and everybody all considered junk, so they're trying to come up with a new,
Definition.
they originally thought they were regulating 5 junkyards in town. But in
Which
fact,
makes sense.
you have to show an ID and have to do all kinds of things if you're buying at an automobile junkyard, but
Right.
not
I thought the
necessarily.
town, and Charlie, you could help me out with this, I thought they passed something years ago that said anyone selling secondhand equipment had to hold it for a period of time before they could, did that not pass? Cause I could have sworn they set a, you know, there had to be documentation and you had to hold it for 30 days before you could resell it, and
Or other towns treating antique shops and Salvation Army stores.
I think they just,
I think the problem.
I don't think they attempt to regulate it.
I
don't-
think the problem is the state definition, which defines junk, so
Right. Right.
maybe
Needs to be,
you might wanna decide you're gonna redefine that, or
yeah.
You'll have
you can
probably,
look at,
you probably have different levels of junk licenses.
yeah.
That's what you're gonna end up with.
So that more business can pay more taxes?
That's
No, just unfortunately, the town council
more fees.
read the thing at the end, it says secondhand, that's what the killer is.
Yeah.
Could've left it alone and ignored it, but,
He had nothing else to do?
no, one of the selectmen decided to get involved, that's what happened. Opened up a can of worms.
I'm sure the licenses will all go up, right?
Mr. Chairman, are we ready to,
Sure.
adjourn?
Anybody wanna give me a,
I'd make that motion, Mr. Chairman, that we adjourn at,
No, gotta appoint Bob first.
what? Did you do what?
oh, Bob,
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Reed, I forgot.
You were.
I'd like to make a motion that Mr. Reed, do his volunteer.
I think Bob deferred to me.
You wanna do it, George?
I don't want anything else on my plate, but I'll do it if I have to.
There you go.
Okay, do we wanna,
Are you gonna be, the junk man, Mr. Reed?
no, I think our
Mr.
chairman,
Mr. Chairman has decided to volunteer for the job.
Then I'd make a motion to
And
adjourn.
I'll make
at-
Mr. Cronin my associate in case I can't make
In
it.
case you can't make it, call me, I'll see if I'm around.
I'll be a glutton for punishment, how's that?
They could use the attorney on the committee, they could use the other attorney on the committee.
Hmm.
I got that magazine.
All
Is
right.
there a second?
Punch it into the box.
Second,
Oh, really?
Mr.
I'm sure I wouldn't read it.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Anybody wanna be